In the heart of West Africa, precisely Burkina Faso, a great man named Ibrahim Traoré emerges as a ray of hope and catalyst for change. Born with a deep sense of responsibility towards his motherland, Traoré rises to become the president of his homeland, Burkina Faso, armed with a vision to save Africa from the shackles of bondage. How will he do that? We'll see as this video unfolds. Ibrahim Traoré was born in Bondokuy, Mouhoun Province, in 1988. After receiving his primary education in Bondokuy, he attended a high school in Bobo-Dioulasso, where he was known as being quiet yet very talented. From 2006, he studied at the University of Ouagadougou, where he was part of the Association of Muslim Students. He graduated from the university with honors. Traoré eventually joined the army of Burkina Faso in 2009. He was sent to Morocco for anti-aircraft training before being transferred to an infantry unit in Kaya, a town in Burkina Faso's north. Promoted to lieutenant in 2014, Traoré joined MINUSMA, a United Nations peacekeeping force involved in the Mali War. In 2018, he was cited as one of the MINUSMA soldiers who showed courage during major rebel attacks in the Tombouctou region. He subsequently returned to Burkina Faso, where he assisted in operations against the escalating jihadist insurgency. Traoré fought in the Otapuanyu offensive of 2019 and several other counter-insurgency operations in the country's north. He was later promoted to captain in 2020. Traoré was part of the group of army officers that supported the January 2022 Burkina Faso coup d'état and brought the patriotic movement for safeguard and restoration military junta to power. From March 2022, he served as the head of an artillery regiment in Kaya. Whether he was ever associated with the Cobra Forces, a counter-terrorist unit founded in 2019, is inconclusive. According to several sources, he was part of the unit at some point. However, news magazine Jeune Afrique stated that he was never associated with the Cobras. Many supporters of the January coup became dissatisfied with the performance of Paul Henri Sandaogo Damiba, the junta's leader, regarding his inability to contain the jihadist insurgency. Traoré later claimed that he and other officers had tried to get Damiba to refocus on the rebellion, but eventually opted to overthrow him as his ambitions were diverting away from what we set out to do. The dissatisfaction about the situation was highest among younger officers who fought against the rebels at the front lines. In addition, there were delays in pay for the Cobra troops. When the plotters launched their coup on 30 September, Traoré still held the rank of captain. The operation was carried out with the support of the Cobra unit. In the direct aftermath of the coup, Traoré declared himself the new head of the patriotic movement for safeguard and restoration. On 6 October, he also assumed the position of interim president as head of state, supreme head of the armed forces. Even though Burkina Faso is a fruitful land, they still face a lot of challenges. Since the coups, the number of people killed by militant Islamist violence has nearly tripled compared to the 18 months before the January 2022 coup. This violence, coupled with the geographic spread of extremist activities effectively surrounding Ouagadougou, puts Burkina Faso more than ever at the brink of collapse. In addition, Burkina Faso is in the throes of one of the largest internal displacement crises in Africa. The situation has its roots in a complex set of factors including poverty, inequality, and the growing activities of non-state armed groups, NSAGs. Also, the security situation in Burkina Faso has deteriorated significantly in recent years and remains volatile. Burkina Faso is a low-income Sahelian country with limited natural resources. Its economy is largely based on agriculture, although gold exports are on the rise. More than 40% of the population lives below the poverty line. Whereas hunger remains one of Burkina Faso's main challenges today, insecurity still is an even bigger problem. Ibrahim Traoré has vowed to fight extremist violence and has called for support from new allies, including Russia. He says his soldiers need training, equipment, and intelligence gathering to up their game against the militant extremists. All these explain the urgent need for change and Ibrahim Traoré's commitment to mending those broken parts. Traoré has a vision for not only a better Burkina Faso, but Africa as a whole. He has plans to prioritize education. He believes that education is key to empowerment and nation building, and he proposes investing more in schools, improving access to quality education for all, and promoting vocational training to create skilled laborers. Addressing inequality. To address inequality, Ibrahim aims to work towards fair wealth distribution, ensuring that the benefits of economic growth reach every citizen, no matter who you are and what you do. Improving healthcare. He emphasizes the importance of healthcare accessibility and plans to improve healthcare facilities, strengthen primary healthcare services, and make healthcare affordable for all. A strong people equal a strong country. Protecting the environment. Ibrahim intends to promote renewable energy sources, invest in eco-friendly initiatives, and encourage responsible agricultural practices to ensure a greener future for Burkina Faso. In addition, he also has a foreign policy of anti-imperialism. During the Russia-Africa summits on July 2023, Ibrahim Traoré had this to say to other African heads of state at the Russian-Africa summit. Yesterday, July 27, President Vladimir Putin announced that free grain would be shipped to Africa. This is pleasing, and we say thank you for this. However, this is also a message to our African heads of state. At the next forum, we must not come here without having ensured the self-sufficiency of food supply for our people. We must learn from the experience of those who have succeeded in achieving this. A polite way to tell African countries to work hard for themselves. Burkina Faso is rich in natural resources. They produce cotton and sorghum, which is important to the Burkinabe people. Due to the importance of sorghum to the Burkinabe economy, the government has dedicated vast sums of money to develop the industry. One of the significant steps that the government has taken to increase sorghum growth in the country is to fund research into new varieties of sorghum. The World Bank estimated that in 2007, roughly 20% of Burkina Faso's total land area was considered arable. Despite the vast amount of arable land in Burkina Faso, the country is not considered self-sufficient in agriculture. Because of that, the Burkinabe government has put in place a measure to grow the farming sector using modern farming methods. Some of Burkina Faso's most important crops include cotton, maize, sorghum, and millet. Recently, Burkinabe farmers have also begun growing sugarcane on a large scale. Burkina Faso is also rich in mineral resources and produces gold, zinc, copper, manganese, phosphate, and limestone in substantial quantities. It also has reserves of diamonds, bauxite, nickel, and vanadium, the most important being gold, with the nation being the fourth largest gold producer on the African continent. However, some of these remain largely unexploited. Africa as a whole is the major producer of important metals and minerals such as uranium is used to produce nuclear energy, platinum is used for jewelry and industrial applications, nickel is used in producing stainless steel, magnets, coins, and rechargeable batteries, and bauxite and cobalt, just to name a few. The two most profitable minerals are gold and diamond, producing about 483 tons in 2008, making 22% of the world's total production. South Africa accounting for almost half the produce, then Ghana, Guinea, Mali, and Tanzania being the other major producers. In the same year, 2008, 55% of the world's diamonds came from Africa, Botswana, Angola, South Africa, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Namibia being the largest producers. In 2007, 12.5% of the world's total oil production and 6.45% of total natural gas production came from Africa. Nigeria, Libya, Algeria, Egypt, and Angola dominate Africa's oil industry. According to the United Nations, Africa is home to about 30% of the world's mineral reserves, 12% of the world's oil, and 8% of the world's natural gas reserves. The continent also holds 40% of the world's gold and up to 90% of its chromium and platinum, both valuable metals. All these and so much more. Ibrahim Traoré therefore works hard to have a united Africa, harnessing collective strength and resources to have a transformed Africa. The African continent possesses all the necessary resources to move forward, rallying to come closer in collaboration. This period of transformation in Africa is marked by support from the African diaspora and the rise of influential figures who resonate with the youth. With its youthful and growing population and rich natural resources, Africa is poised to harness its demographic power to advance towards self-governance. As Africa continues on this path of self-determination, the current rise of military leadership occurs amid a renewed scramble for Africa, where former colonial powers like France and Great Britain and new global players like China, Turkey, India, and Brazil are vying for influence. Unlike the 1884 to 1885 Berlin Conference, which enacted the historical division and exploitation of Africa, there is a growing sense of defiance and self-determination on the continent. Africa is transitioning from a passive spectator to an assertive actor, in a world that is steadily and irreversibly moving from a unipolar moment to a multiplex world. A trend recognized by Amitav Acharya since 2014. Good thing for Africa. In February 2023, Traoré's government expelled the French forces assisting in fighting the local insurgency from Burkina Faso. He subsequently declared, "We want to look at other horizons because we want win-win partnerships, supporting the diversification of Burkina Faso's international partnerships." Shortly after, Traoré's government expressed support for a federation with Mali, and they both invited Guinea. All three countries are under military leadership, and if it were to become a union, it would be the largest country ruled by military junta. In April, he declared a general mobilization of the population to support the military, as rebel forces continued to increase the rate of their attacks. In the following month, Traoré questioned the planned restoration of democracy for 2024, stating that elections could not be held unless the insurgents were pushed back and the security situation had been improved. Following the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit, Traoré said that the people of his country support Russia and communicated that a decision had been made to reopen the Russian embassy, which was closed in 1992. According to the newspaper Le Monde, in May 2023, the Traoré regime seems, for the time being, to be favoring the use of its forces in the fight against the jihadists, and has not asked Wagner's Russians for help. During that same Russia-Africa summit, Traoré thanked Russian President Vladimir Putin for deciding to send free grain to African countries. Nonetheless, he expressed that Africa should become self-sufficient in food by the next summit. Traoré spoke on the paradox of wealth and poverty that defines the African continent, rich in resources but impoverished in living conditions. "My generation does not understand this. How can Africa, which has so much wealth, become the poorest continent in the world today? And why African leaders travel the world to beg," he said. Adding that the West should not see African presidents as puppets. He also shed light on the migration crisis, where desperate Africans risk their lives seeking better prospects in Europe. In a strong indictment of African leadership, Traoré asked his fellow African leaders to stand up to manipulation by imperialistic forces. He referred to Burkina Faso's VDF, Volunteers for the Defense of the Fatherland, and their struggle against terrorism, saying, "Since 2019, Burkina Faso has implemented the renowned VDF. They assist our regular army in battling border and internal terrorism." Through Traoré's unwavering determination and visionary leadership, he strives to save Africa from the bondage of poverty, inequality, and underdevelopment. There will be a lot of challenges faced, but the transformative plans implemented and the hope he inspires in the hearts of millions is the push Africa needs. As Traoré continues to pave the way for an African renaissance, his legacy serves as a reminder that true liberation lies in the hands of those who dare to dream and act for a better future. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to drop a comment, like, and subscribe.